Yes. Okay, great. Hello. Whenever Julie isn't going to be able to join tea time, I send out a desperate plea to our reps to not leave me alone in the cold Zoom room. And they always deliver. They always come. They're so amazing. So we have a huge array of books awaiting us, and it's good because there's so many new books coming out that sound amazing. And it having y'all here to separate, what do they say, the wheat from the chaff? Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Is very valuable and awesome. So,
But
hi everybody.
it would be a great tea time with just you, Amanda. You
Uh,
talking about books.
Yep.
That's also a great tea time.
here's a huge stack of books I'm never going to get to. They look really
Yeah.
great and have good covers. No, I've been reading a little, but still, I want to leave it to the experts. So it's going to go Liz, Julia, Andrea, and Tom. So take it away, Liz.
Sounds good. Give me a little moment to share my screen to find it. Hmm. So this is not it, but I will get it. Starting with Same as It Ever Was by Claire Lombardo. So this is her new novel on sale tomorrow. Her debut was an amazing success. In fact, it was a Reese Witherspoon pick for April, the most fun we ever had. This is yet another really brilliantly observed family drama with humor, of course. One of the focal points is the marriage in the story. A long marriage that is facing imminent trouble due to past and present events. So our main character is Julia Ames. She's had a turbulent youth, but she finally feels at the age of 57 that she's got things under control and is experiencing a level of sort of peace and tranquility. But this book is really about happenstance, about cause and effect. And given the first chapter called Lost in the Supermarket, yes, reference to a song, but also reference to sort of the impending chaos. And so her little misbehavior, as she calls it, of choosing a grocery store that's not her usual store on a quest for crab meat for her husband's 60th birthday, may have consequences unseen. So she's unprepared for what comes next. There's a surprise announcement from her straight arrow son, an impending separation from her spiky teenage daughter, and then something seductive comes back again from her past, if that's not too enigmatic for you. She's really on the verge of falling back to some old, more destructive patterns. And readers just love her books because her characters, her dialogue, her plot are so authentic, so relatable, really reflect the ups and downs of real life. And this book explores maternal ambivalence, intergenerational friendship, and just this unpredictable cause and effect of life that governs us all. It's totally perfect for Ann Tyler fans. Oh, and we have a new Ann Tyler book coming next year. Very exciting. Ann Patchett fans, Jane Smiley, Richard Russo. It would be a very satisfying beach read, and it's also complex enough to be a good book club pick. I love Ron Charles' review in the Washington Post. He says that Same as It Ever Was is a witty, sympathetic take on motherhood. Lombardo has such a fine eye for the weft and warp of a family's fabric. She understands the chemistry of that special epoxy of irritation and affection that keeps a marriage glued together. There you have it.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. We didn't get the right screen, but I
Oh, you
didn't want
never
to.
did.
No,
Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's so
But I
sad.
didn't want
Okay,
to
I'll figure it out for
interrupt your
next time.
spiel. But that sounds fantastic. And Claire Lombardo, will be at Warwick's next
Mhm.
Tuesday, discussing Same as It Ever Was with Jason
There it
Flitman, who is a San Diego arts person and also the host and producer of the Gaze Reading podcast. And I have heard he's an excellent in conversation partner, so it should be a really good event.
Okay,
if
can you see
you
the
are
screen
available.
now?
Yes,
Isn't that a beautiful cover?
it is
Let's
beautiful.
just engage with it for 1 second. Now I'll stop sharing.
Yeah, it looks great. And it was interesting that Reese picked her first book as one of her picks. It's a little bit of a departure for her to go back in time and choose
I know,
a
but it's
backlist
great
title.
priming readers for, for this book. So that was good news for us for sure.
Cool, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, Julia.
Okie doke. My first one, with the Olympics about to start in the next few weeks, I thought this one was a really interesting title. It's called Better, Faster, Farther: How Running Changed Everything We Know About Women. And oh man, is this a great book and one that is going to make you insanely mad. So basically this is in some ways like a history of how women started running competitively, and then also in some ways a history of how women started running competitively. Men, mostly in the medical field, had to change everything that they knew about women, because they knew about women, I shall say, because like one of the reasons that women were excluded from competitive running was that male doctors thought that their uteruses would fall out when they ran, if they ran too heavily. And so it actually talks about how as women ran competitively and none of the like totally wild like predictions failed to pan out, that the medical establishment then had to go back and like rethink everything that they thought that they knew about women and exercise and women and strenuous exercise. So, like I said, it is a very good book, and it is also a book that will make you very mad. But I know people who run particularly love to read about running, but also, I'll just point out right here that it could not be me. I would love to read a book about running. I have absolutely no intention of ever running myself. But props to those of you who do. I'll be at the pool. Anyway, I just think this is a great book. I'll stop sharing, but I think it's a great book. I think it's a great book to sort of prep you for the Olympics. I think it's a great book to sort of think about women in not just running, but in athletics in general, and sort of how women have been involved in athletics for a very long time, even if they're only recently maybe starting to get some credit for doing important things within sports. So yeah.
Yeah, there's that whole story about the first woman to run the Boston Marathon who had to, I think it was Boston Marathon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who had to cross-dress and like try to pass as a man and was exposed like halfway through the race, but her male friends who were running with her like basically fought off the officials, and it's like, come on.
The guy who ran the Boston Marathon basically started attacking her as she was running.
Yeah.
And she had to fight him off with her friends.
Yeah.
That story is in this book. So you'll read about that. But
it's a good story.
And it's within the last, I guess, this summer at the Olympics will be the 40th anniversary since women started being able to run competitively in the Olympics. So it's only been 40 years, and that's what, like 11 years after Title IX, I think. It's an interesting history. Anyway.
Sounds like an important book.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yep. And not to sound like a broken record, but we are hosting Maggie Mertens next week on Thursday. She was originally going to be in conversation with Shelia Burrell, who is an SDSU track coach. But Shelia cannot make it because some of her track people made the Olympic trials. So But even if, even if she's solo, I'm sure it's going to be a fascinating talk. So that's next Thursday at Warwick's, if you're into it. Okay. Andrea.
Hi, missed y'all. Sorry I've been gone. So I want to talk about Spiegel and Grau's Tiananmen Square. This is by Lai Wen, not her real name. She won't reveal it because of the danger posed by the Communist Party Central Committee in China, because of that. This novel is based on autograph. Wow, ugh, I can't speak. I'm gone for a couple of weeks and I cannot say words. So this is based on her own autobiographical experiences during the Tiananmen Square uprising in China back in the day. It was published around the 35th anniversary of the tragic and horrific events. It is a gorgeous book. It deals with, which you would think, it deals with like themes of self-discovery, and then just, with this huge, the backdrop of this major tumultuous historical event, you get all of that drama. It's beautifully written. It's been compared to Elena Ferrante and her Neapolitan Quartet, and somebody who was writing about it in the Sunday Times, I have it pulled up here, said this is like Elena Ferrante in 1970s Beijing. Then I noticed on the back of the proof copy the author's letter to the reader, in which she describes how she was inspired to write her own story after reading Ferrante's Neapolitan novels. The comparison couldn't be more apt. Wen displays the same patience, precision, and calm intelligence as Ferrante as she stitches together her tapestry of female relationships, falling in love and coming into political awareness. So that's great. That's a great review. It was reviewed in the LA Times, like all over the country, Washington Post. So this is a winner. William Boyd calls an extraordinary novel. You can see it on the front cover. So and it's a great cover too. So this is a winner. And if all you Ferrante fans out there that are maybe looking for another a setting and a new story that's akin, then this is the one for you.
Is it a paperback original?
Yeah. Which Spiegel and Grau doesn't do all the time. But I think it's right for this book. So it's going to get in more people's hands that way.
Cool. And D in the chat, Andrea says, I read Forgotten on Sunday by Perrin, by Europa. Gabe mentioned it, but I think this is for Andrea. Came for the story and stayed reading for the writing. Amazing. Thanks, Tea Time. Oh, Tea Time testimonials.
Awesome. And I haven't talked about it here yet, but I was going to talk about that today. So but that's good. When we have customer hand selling going on. So
oh yeah, Darcy read it too. Fantastic. And
Wow.
okay, Beth is currently reading Return to Blood.
oh yes.
It's as great as the first.
Excellent. I'm so glad you like it, Beth, because I just think that this guy is a serious new crime writing talent, and set in New Zealand with an indigenous centered story. Can't go wrong.
And Kim was up late because Kim was reading Peter S. Beagle's I'm Afraid You've Got Dragons. I'm not sure who mentioned that one, but I do remember it being mentioned.
Right.
I don't remember who talked about that one. But yeah, sounds
Maybe.
good. Maybe Gabe. Okay, Tom.
All
Your
right.
turn.
So I have been waiting for this book to come out, and tomorrow it's out. Anthony
Oh,
Fauci's On Call. So you may have seen this weekend, like this is like I haven't read it because we've kept it under wraps. None of us have read it. But it's starting to get out there. It's on sale tomorrow, but the reviews are starting to run. There was a piece on CBS Sunday Morning yesterday, and pretty soon he will be on every possible media there is, from MSNBC to Fresh Air, you name it. And what I think is important, well, what the reviews are saying is what I was hoping would happen with this book, because the book is not like, okay, we see Anthony Fauci, we see his face, we immediately think of COVID-19, right? But this is a full life, a full telling of a full life. And it's time for that because as I was selling this book, I can tell you, and I'm sure we all already know how much of a lightning rod Fauci is, and I'm really happy that now that he's telling his own story, and like I said, the full story. So starts off in Brooklyn, New York, and his childhood, and then him as a doctor, but then eventually getting to DC, and then advising behind the scenes and in front, 7 presidents. Most importantly, the 2 biggest things were AIDS in the 80s and, of course, COVID-19. And he is as honest as I think he can be with all those things. And what I love too, at least from the reviews, this is not a score settling book. He's not looking to, like, apparently that I would like more score settling with Donald Trump, but there's apparently not a lot of that. He's pretty even-handed. And then going back to the AIDS era, he gets into detail about the things he got right, the things he got wrong, his relationship with AIDS activists at the time, which is now a well-known story about how he was, I guess that's what goes around comes around. He was hated in that era too, but he met with activists, and in the end, he learned from them. They learned what he was going, what the hoops he had to jump through. And Larry Kramer, one of the leading activists, ended up being, I wouldn't say close, but they have a final phone call before Larry Kramer died, and they loved each other. So it's a really, I am sure it's a really great book. The other thing to note about this is that Wendy Wolf, who is a really great editor at Viking, who has now, she retired from Viking, but she's the editor of every kind of book, from every serious, like all the big serious nonfiction books of the last 20, 30 years from Viking, from Nathaniel Philbrick's books to The Boys in the Boat, you name it, Wendy Wolf was behind those books. And this was her final book that she edited sort of in secret for a long time with Fauci. So she for sure has gotten, I'm confident, a great book out of him. So Anthony Fauci's On Call, A Doctor's Journey in Public Service, on sale tomorrow.
cool. I saw he's going to be on, or maybe he already was on Stephen Colbert as well.
Oh, could be tonight, or
Yeah, it might be tonight.
because if you see the media lineup, it is like nothing you've ever seen before. And
Yeah.
he's a great raconteur, storyteller, so I'm sure he'll be great in all of these situations. But I personally think it's important for him to get his story out before it's caricatured to death.
Yeah. Well, he did get some free publicity by being grilled by the adversarial Congress people.
I know. I wondered if that was, if Viking somehow knew that was going to happen.
I don't know, but all publicity is good publicity.
That's when Marjorie Taylor Greene insisted on calling him Mr. because she would not call him Doctor.
Yeah. Oh, bless her heart. Bless her heart.
Okay, back to you, Liz. Oh, you're on mute. Mute. There you go.
You can hear me. You can see my slide for
Yes.
blessings.
Wow, cool cover.
Yeah, oh my gosh, this is a really exciting debut for me. I love this book, and I am just continually impressed by just the rich tradition of Nigerian literature. And so this author's only 22 years old. And this is his first novel, like I said, his first novel. Yeah, this tradition would really make Chinua Achebe proud. This is a coming of age novel. It's about first love. It's set in post-military Nigeria, and it culminates in the Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act of 2013 there. It's been compared to the movie Moonlight and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's debut novel, Purple Hibiscus. And in fact, our author, Chukwuebuka Ibe, was only 18 when he was invited to participate in Adichie's Purple Hibiscus writing workshop in Lagos. And this was co-taught by none other than Dave Eggers. He was 17 at that time, and he was named, or at 17, he was named a finalist for a short story prize on queer writing. Now he's finishing up his MFA at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri. So this novel's beautifully told. In it, we meet Obiafuna, who's sensitive, where his father, Manozi, is really pragmatic and strict. He's a dancer. His brother, Akin, is a natural athlete. He's the black sheep of the family. But when Obiafuna's father sees an intimate moment between his teenage son and another boy, Obiafuna is immediately sent to boarding school. And this boarding school is got a lot of bullying, a lot of strict hierarchy. There's unpredictable violence, and he just has to make his way. So he both discovers who he really is and also has to hide who he truly is. And then back home, his mother, who loves him so dearly, has to contend with his absence and that she does not know a thing about why he was sent away. So she gets in, arguments with her husband, and her husband just gives these very cryptic reasons for why Obiafuna was sent away. It's an elegant book. It's short, only 288 pages. Its main theme, as you can probably tell, is really how one can live freely and flourish in a country that forbids one's truest self. And the Sunday Times in the review called it a moving debut about love and loneliness. And I think it's a cut above, and I want people to take notice.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ah,
Well,
These
sounds like
young-
a generational talent, huh? I mean, like,
yeah, I was gonna say these young
invited-
geniuses make me mad.
yeah, I mean, he gets invited to like participate in like the premier like writing workshop like on the African continent, basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Before he's
cool.
even like graduated from high school, probably.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's impressive, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you. Julia.
Okay, I have a summer chill title. It's
Hmm.
called Dolce Far Niente, which
Hmm.
turns to sweet doing nothing, the Italian way of summer. It is this gorgeous photo book about southern Italy. So it's a bunch of different locales in southern Italy on the beach, and sort of talks about southern Italians in the summer basically do nothing for a long time. It sort of talks about that in the text that's in it, and pairs that text with these gorgeous photographs of southern Italy. You can see it's got Amalfi Coast and Capri. It's got it's got Puglia, it's got some of the islands around southern Italy. It's just a gorgeous photo book. I think really fun gift for someone. Here's is, let's see, all the places that are in it: the Naples, the Aeolian Islands, Ischia, the Amalfi Coast and Capri, Sicily, Puglia, and Pantelleria. So I just think a gorgeous topical gift item. I felt like when I was selling it, I was like, I just want to be in Southern Italy right now. I am I'm Southern Italian. My grandparents were both born in Southern Italy, so I felt very connected to this book, but also it's one that I just like love to just kind of like flip through slowly as I like sit here in Los Angeles. And at this point now we're sweltering. We went from freezing to sweltering. So you know. Anyway.
Beautiful. I don't know this publisher, Artisan.
Artisan is a part of Workman.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so they do really lovely art books, photo books, picture books, cookbooks, different things like that. And what I really like about them is they spare no expense usually in the design of the books. They're usually gorgeous. They're always gorgeous. And they're also usually at a pretty good price point. So this one's a $40 hardcover. So they can usually like do some really cool things. A lot of the cookbooks that I bring are Artisan cookbooks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do gorgeous cookbooks. That's how I know them.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Back to you, Andrea.
Okay, I'm doing another trade paperback for summer. This is the first now in trade paper. This came out last year in hardcover. James Lee Burke's Flags on the Bayou. So he and everybody knows who James Lee Burke is, but he takes his talent for suspense writing and translates that to antebellum Louisiana, where he grew up, to talk about brutality and the tragedies in like associated with slavery. And it's just like a very atmospheric portrait of Louisiana during that period. The guy can really write historical novels. And it's a new direction for somebody who really is known for his mystery and thrillers, but he's expanded his readership beyond that with this book. And he has a new one coming out, which goes back to his crime roots, which I'll be talking about in a couple of weeks. So, but this is a great little summer read. If you feel like going back and reading a really well-told and well-researched historical novel. So, and that comes from our friends at Grove Atlantic, and it's $18 trade paper. It's a deal.
And on the cover, it says winner of the Edgar Award for this book. He won the Edgar?
Yes. And I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry that I didn't.
Oh no, sometimes they put it on the cover and it's for a previous book. So
yeah,
always...
actually, I think that was for a previous book.
Oh,
Because
okay.
really, yeah, I think that's what it is, and I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, I mean, either way, like
He's like he's like a grand master of that world. So
yeah, I mean, because this is not, they just put that on there so people like know who he is. You know what I mean? They'll go, oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
we hosted a virtual event with him last week. He was in conversation with Michael Connolly for the new David Robichaud mystery.
Yes.
And he was so fantastic. He was so sweet and wonderful. Yeah. I'll put the link in the comments if anyone wants to watch that on our YouTube channel.
that'd be great. I'd love to watch that.
Yeah, he's very happy to have come over to Grove, and there's a great legendary editor who does nonfiction and mystery. So he like handles like the big name mystery and crime writers like Donna Leone. And so and his name is George Gibson.
Oh.
And he's been in the business forever. He started out, I think, at Simon and Schuster. But he told us at one of the last sales conference that Mr. Burke is like excited to be with a house, like a smaller independent house, a different thing for him because of his years of being with larger, like more commercially oriented publishers. And so it's he's in a good place in his career, right? You know, and he's like, I don't really need to retire right now. And I'm just going to, you know, just go a little bit further afield. And Grove is like, sure. You know, you don't
Cool.
have to write like, you know, the next installment in your crime series. So, and it's nice to see that he can do that. And he likes where he is. So,
And it
Yeah,
seems like
but-
he's at the top
Go
of
ahead.
his game still. I mean,
Yeah,
that's-
I mean,
I
he's-
love that.
yeah. So,
Cool.
Yeah, he's-
Excited to hear about the next one in a few weeks.
yep.
He teased it a little bit, but didn't give too many details. So
No, you'll hear about it.
cool.
You'll hear about it when I talk about it, but it's funny that he didn't actually, that he was teasing people, right? That is funny. So he's like, you know, still like, you know, really into like, you know, promotion. I love it.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I will give a plug for his daughter, who is new to Knopf, writing her mystery, The Note, which is coming out this fall. So maybe there'll
Oh.
be an occasion for them to be in conversation sometime. Would be
Wouldn't
Oh,
that be
cool.
great? That would be great. And I hope that you talk about that on Tea Time because I want to learn about that. It sounds great.
Well, I will now. Not now. Later now.
Okay.
What's her full name? Does she write under Lee Burke or?
Ala Fairburg, isn't it?
Alafair Burke.
Oh, got it. Okay, good.
Yeah, you probably have had other
I didn't even
backlists, but
realize they
she-
were. I didn't even. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
she's
cool.
just publishing first time with Knopf. So she's moved to a big house. He's
Awesome.
moved to smaller.
Back to the big houses.
Okay, Tom, your turn.
All right. My next book is Akweke Emezi's Little Rot, also on sale tomorrow. Akweke Emezi is singular, I think, in so many different ways. We published The Death of Vivek Oji in 2020, which is one of the best books of that year. They took their next book to Atria because that was a departure. That was a romance, as only they could write. That was called You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. That was 2022. And now Little Rot is a thriller, but in their hands, it's unlike any other thriller you've ever read, but it has the basic outline of a thriller. So it takes, we go to a big, loud Nigerian city. The book takes place over just a little over 24 hours. So it's super intense from the minute it starts. There's a breakup between two people. There's a party where things go terribly wrong. There's a lot of, this is a violent book. It's filled with sex of all different kinds. It's sort of like a Kevin Kwan, but gone very different than I think. I've never read a Kevin Kwan, but I imagine there's an over-the-topness to the Kevin Kwans that this is kind of relates to that. But you're getting to the underworld, the underbelly of the city. Super cinematic. It's really, and it reads so quickly. It's not very long, and you just fly through it. And I love that Akweke is playing with genre so much, and you never know what will be next. So it's on sale tomorrow. Reviews are already starting to come. The New York Times gave it a rave. It said, ended with, "We come away troubled, unsettled, and in some subtle way changed." So really excited to have this be out this summer. Akweke Emezi's Little Rot. I love writers where you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
More evidence of the Nigerian
I know, I was
literary.
thinking that. Right, the scene.
And they had that you probably mentioned it, the young adult book. Like the first
I
book
didn't
was,
know, right.
yeah,
That
won a
was-
big prize. Like
Right.
that was amazing, amazing
this, right?
success.
That was this?
Pet, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. They can do anything. That's the thing. And they're going to do anything. That's what's so amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting. My turn? Yes.
Yeah,
where's
lightning
my-
round.
I have let's see. We are Wednesday. Can you see Juneteenth? So Wednesday we celebrate Juneteenth, which honors June 19th in 1865, when the Civil War, it was announced it was over and slavery was abolished. Ralph Ellison has a classic novel that gives us some fascinating characters. And it was written decades after The Invisible Man. The story follows Adam Sunrader, who's a race-baiting senator. His life takes an unexpected turn when he calls for Alonzo Hickman, an old Black minister, to be by his side as he faces a mortal wound. As the two men intimately share their stories and memories, the true shape and substance of the past begins to emerge. So Ellison's genius for American vernacular is on full display here, with the preacher's hyperbole, the politician's rhetoric, and the rhythms of the writing that follow, like, jazz and gospel and just ordinary speech. Henry Louis Gates praised this novel highly in Time magazine, saying it's a stunning achievement. Ellison sought no less than to create a book of Blackness, a literary composition of the tradition at its most sublime and fundamental. So our edition is revised. It has an introduction and notes by John F. Callahan, who was the first to compile Juneteenth out of thousands of manuscript pages in 1999. As well as a preface by National Book Award winning author Charles Johnson. So if people don't know about this, I think it's an important book. And the quote from the LA Times, as close as any since Huckleberry Finn to grab the ring of the great American novel. That is certainly high praise.
It's great that you're bringing this back out, because it's, I think, kind of forgotten. And
Yeah.
I had no idea this existed.
I know. I really wanted people to know. And just also that even though it was assembled later, I mean, it's really a striking novel. And Modern Library also has a classic hardcover edition.
because
But
it
this
was
is the
published
vintage
posthumously,
paperback.
right?
Hmm?
It was published posthumously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And everyone had been waiting for the next book after Invisible Man and never
Well,
got
and he had others, but this was one that, he toiled at and not finished, but had so many pages. So but it stands up. It stands up completely with his other books.
it's great that there's a hardcover too, because it's, it deserves that. It has that gravitas, so it's nice that
Yeah.
it's in that pantheon of great
Agreed.
American writers.
Yeah.
And I think that this is something that will be picked up for, like just for classroom use as well. I can't see how it wouldn't be.
Schools. It could be a one book, one city read. I mean, it's just got all of that appeal and importance.
I really hope that you guys sell a boatload, because it seems like a very important novel.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.
I'm trying to find that Modern Library edition. I'll put the link for that in the comments, because I love those Modern Library editions.
Yeah, I can find it too.
They're very collectible. Okay. Back to Julia.
Okay, my final one is a paperback release. I think I talked about this in one of my first tea times ever, because we're coming up on about a year of me. Well, it's almost a year to the day that I started at Hachette. So, so this is finally in paperback, Goodnight Irene by Luis Alberto Urrea. It was a New York Times bestseller when it came out in hardcover. It was an Indie Next pick. It was a PW and Kirkus starred review. People absolutely were wild for this book. It was one of those ones when you start and everyone, like every email I got was like you know, these are all the reviews that are coming in for this book. And this is about Luis Urrea. His mother was on the front lines in World War II. And it's about sort of the job that she did there, which a lot of people don't know. These women who, many of whom worked for the Red Cross, but these women sort of were in charge of laying the communication lines between the front line of the war and the sort of back off of the front line where they were figuring, I don't know, war terminology, guys, I'm so sorry, but we're figuring out like what they were going to do next. I don't know what that is. but so it talks, these women were on the front line because of that. And so it talks about this group of women, their camaraderie. A lot of it is taken from Urrea's mother's experience. If you haven't read Luis Alberto Urrea, he is, I think, one of the best American writers out there. He lives in Chicago, but he writes both fiction and nonfiction. The Devil's Highway, it's a nonfiction book that he wrote that is fantastic, and if you're in Southern California, you should absolutely read that book. But yeah, this is well, and then his House of Broken Angels was also a huge hit when it came out, and that's a novel. So he just is kind of stunning in any genre. And this one, because it is so personally close to him, I think really sort of that care sort of comes through in a way that is just really stunning and arresting as you're reading it. So Good Night, Irene. It's out in paperback now. If you didn't catch it in hardcover, now might be the time. I think it's a really smart book, and I think like I'm always looking for a good read that I can sink my teeth into that's also really smart. So even if I'm say sitting at the beach this summer, something like this might appeal to you if you like that kind of thing. So
we have a lot of Urrea fans at Warwick's, and especially this book.
Yep.
And let's see. Yes, Darcy read it and it was terrific, based on the author's mom, I believe. And Dee says, yep, I bought this one because of you, Julia.
Yay!
It was so good.
Good.
Yeah. And then back, just real quick, Kim just read Annette Gordon Reads on Juneteenth. Only 150 pages, so good. Ralph Ellison is next. So I put that link in the comments as well. All right. Andrea.
Thank you. I stand corrected. For the record, James Lee Burke won the Edgar for that novel.
Oh, fantastic.
He also had come out with a book called Harbor Lights, in between that and the new one that's coming out. And so I got those jumbled. He did win for that one, so which is exciting. And even though it is historical in scope and does differ, there was mystery elements in it. So he's expanding, like I said, expanding like his genre magistry. But anyway, so sorry about that. 2,100 titles to keep track of each season, and sometimes things get discombobulated. Okay, so as has already been endorsed by some of our intrepid viewers, I wanted to talk about Forgotten on Sunday, and a shout out to Gabe for mentioning this while I was gone. So this is by the author of Freshwater for Flowers, and it is a kind of a return to those themes, where her main theme, besides like sort of there's a tone, kind of a intermingling of the comic and melancholic this returns to another one of her themes where the past is never really past. So this is much more like Fresh Water for Flowers, as opposed to her last novel, 3. And this is revolves around the story of 2 main protagonists. One has just turned 21 years old. She lives with her grandparents and her cousin after both of their parents died in a tragic car accident. She's working in a retirement home and meets a 101-year-old lady who they become fast friends. And so it's great to see this intergenerational dynamic play out. They became great friends, and the 101-year-old lady they tell each other secrets, and encourages our young protagonist, whose name is Justine, to kind of come clean with herself and to other people whom she trusts about a secret love. And Justine in turn encourages Helene, the 101-year-old wise lady, to also come to grips with some secrets in her life. And it's really, really beautifully written. Valerie Perrin is one of the top 10 bestsellers, like, in France. But really, I don't care how many books she sells, she's just a damn good writer. And I'm glad that there's so many people at Warwick's and other indie store customers around the country that have fallen in love with her. So anytime you see her book, for one of her books from Europa on the shelves, just grab it. You're not going to be disappointed. So and this is the only hardcover on the list that I'm talking about today, just because we're in the throes of summer. It's nice to kind of pick up a few more books, in trade paperback, but this one's worth picking up in hardcover.
And last week, Julie endorsed another Europa title, The Throne, the first book in the Machiavelli trilogy.
Oh yes, that's a
Yeah,
spot.
She's all about it.
Good. Yeah, that's something I'm going to talk about at some point this summer. That one, that's kind of a little sleeper. So, but I think that it's going to transcend, people who are fans of certain genres. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of different kinds of readers. So,
thank you. Oh, Darcy, I'll find out. I'm pretty sure The Throne will be in audio form. Really?
Oh,
What do you think, Andrea? I'll look on Libro FM right now.
Yeah, I'm sure they've sold those rights, but it's going to take a while to read that. So might take some time, because that is not an easy gig to record books, especially if they're long, because if you make a mistake, you've got to go back and reread that passage, and then they have to seamlessly edit it in. It takes a while.
Fair.
Did you find it or no?
My computer's real slow today. I'm looking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to go ahead.
Yeah. Tracy Chevalier's The Glassmaker. So it's been, I think, about 25 years since we published Girl with a Pearl Earring. I was trying to see exactly what year it was. I don't think it's quite 25 years, but it's a long time ago. And she's still writing great historical fiction. And she has always, in each of her books, she's focused on women in a time when they weren't allowed to do the things that they wanted to do. And The Glassmaker is no exception in that respect. It's set in Venice it starts in 1486, and it's centered around the island of Murano, which is the island off Venice where glass blowing, glass making is the art of the island. But she's a girl, so she's in a family of that works with glass. But as a girl, she's only allowed to work on the glass beads, and even then in secret. But what's new about this book, I think it's the first time Tracy has done this, and maybe it's the inspiration of Venice itself and the kind of what she describes as Venice time. This book takes place over hundreds of years. The main character is the main character through hundreds of years. So it's as if, so you're learning about the history of Venice through her eyes and the many changes, the occupations, now the tourism, but you're seeing it through the same main character's eyes as she's grown through 6 centuries. So she's playing with time. So I think if you like Tracy Chevalier and you like Geraldine Brooks, you'll like this book. But I think if you like Matt Haig, you might also like this book, because there's something about that piece of it, the time piece, that's really interesting and it kind of adventurous for her, that I think is really exciting. But we have a great quote from the great Geraldine Brooks, so that's really the core of her readership. She says, "This charming fable is at once a love story that skips through 6 centuries and also a love song to the timeless craft of glassmaking. Chevalier probes the fierce rivalries, enduring loyalties of Murano's glass dynasties, capturing the roar of the furnace, the sweat on the skin, and the glittering beauty of Venetian glass." So for summer, Tracy Chevalier is the glassmaker, and that's of course glass on the cover.
How exciting.
Yeah, it's cool.
Big event.
Yeah. And I love that she's not just that she was inspired to change the form that she's working in a little bit.
Here's my Murano glass bird that sits.
Oh my God.
I found this at Goodwill. It was such a find. So
That's
sweet.
Sweet.
I
That's
love
a
Murano glass. That's going to be a great book.
Yeah. And who can resist the lure of Venice too?
Yeah, and it has been, I looked it up, in 2000 was when she published Girl with a Pearl Earring.
I was thinking, almost 25
You're
years.
good. Your internal clock is right on.
The internal clock of decades.
Awesome. Yeah, and yes, Darcy, as Andrea tried to tell us, it is not an audio yet, the throne, but any hazarding a guess as to how long it might be, Andrea?
We do, usually those rights are sold off to other publishers, so I really have no idea.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest.
Yeah, we'll just have to keep checking.
Yeah.
And I bet it, but I'm sure it will be at some point, right? I mean, every book these days seems like it's on audio, so.
Yeah.
The way, go ahead.
Well, I just Libro Books, that's the place to check it out. So, and then sign up for Warwick's as your store, your supporting store.
Thanks.
Well,
yeah, the way Julie was talking about it, it sounds like it's going to be like, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets turned into a TV series, or it sounds real juicy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why it's like perfect to be an audiobook. So usually if it's not, I mean, a lot of times for like the bigger named authors on big publishing houses, those books can be simultaneous. Like the audiobook can be almost simultaneous or near simultaneous. Yeah. But Europa is a little smaller. And so the rights do work a little bit differently. So but if they were going to, I would just think that it's going to be at least 6 months. So
that seems reasonable.
I could be wrong, and now it's something I need to learn something new about audio rights. Because usually I don't think about those at all. So
Same. Something to look forward to. Thank you all so much. What a great batch of books. And thank you everyone for joining us and chiming in. Next week there might be an announcement that our viewers may be interested in. So if you're able to tune in next week, do come. Yeah.
I'm
You def-
serious.
if you're a long time Tea Time fan, definitely have to come.
Yeah. Try to make it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to alarm you or anything, but it's kind of a major thing. Anyway, we'll see you next time. Thank you all so much. And oh, thanks, Dee. Great books. Thanks, Reps. Great job, Amanda. Thank you. See you all next week.
Thanks, Amanda.
Bye.